Yo, 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 it's Cinderella. So, what up? Today I'm going to show you how to put different sleeves onto a sweatshirt. And this is what it looks like when it's all done. So you want to cut the sleeves off of one sweater. I had a white sweater with some stains, so I just cut the sleeves off. You want to make sure you leave the shoulder seam in place with some extra fabric on the inside towards the chest, so that the whole arm is intact. You still have a shoulder seam, and then you have some extra fabric. So you're going to cut both sleeves off of one sweater and then find another sweater that you want to sew them onto. So the first thing we're going to do is turn everything inside out. So you'll turn the sleeve inside out and pay attention to where that lower seam is. That will show you what is the bottom of the sleeve right here. Now we'll turn the sweater inside out. Just lay it out like that. We're going to line up the seams. So you can have your shoulder seam of your sweater right at the top, the side seam right along the side, smooth that out. And we're going to make sure the bottom seam of the arm is going to meet up with the side seam of the sweater like that. Now we're going to thread a needle, so we'll take some thread and stretch it out about the length of your arm, and then cut it off at a bit of an angle like that, and then put it through this tiny hole in the top of the needle. And pull it through until the ends meet at the bottom, and then just smooth it out with your fingers, lining up those ends, and we're ready to start sewing. So I'm using black thread so that you can see what I'm doing, but you could use thread that matches the fabric. So we're just going to be sewing these two layers of fabric together. You're going to take the seam at the bottom of the arm and line it up with the seam that goes along the side of the sweater and hold them together like that. And that is where we're going to start sewing. We're going to be sewing on the inside of this arm seam. So we will go down and out through both layers of fabric, the arm and the sweater. And then before you pull your thread all the way through, you stop and then go back down and out through the same hole or close to the same hole you already came out. This creates a loop of thread, and you can put your needle through that loop and pull it shut, and that makes a knot. So we're going to do at least 3 knots in the fabric, coming out close to the same hole you already came out to make that loop of thread, and then pull it shut. And we're going to do that 3 times. So when you have 3 knots, then we can start sewing all along. So we're sewing on the inside of this shoulder seam and attaching it to the fabric of the sweater. So you can just hold that fabric in place while you're sewing. And the stitch we're going to use for this is called a back stitch. So we'll just put our needle down and up through the fabric, and then pull your thread through, and then now we go back to the same hole that we went down into, and then we come out past where we already came out like that. So whenever you come out for your next stitch, you take a step back and then come out farther. So the thread is coming out of the fabric right in the middle there. And then pull through. So again, you take a step back and then come out a bit further like that. So this is back stitches. And you can see we're sewing through the sweater as well as the arm. We're just attaching them together. You can pin these pieces of fabric in place or just hold them together with your hands. We're going to keep doing those back stitches all along the armhole. And it's as easy as that. We just do this all along the armhole until it's all sewn in place. You can also just open your fabric to take a look at what it looks like, and you can see it's nice and sewn together and you don't see that seam or anything like that. Another thing we can do is another pin to hold the shoulder seam of the sweater to the shoulder seam of the sleeve. So you can see we still see a bit of the shoulder seam where the sleeve is. So you want to put those together so they line up. Just use a pin to pin them together. So all along until you get to that pin. So when you start to run out of thread and you only have about a finger's length of thread left like that, you're going to do 3 knots and then cut off your thread and rethread your needle. So to do those knots, we again just come out close to the same hole you already came out and put your needle through the loop of thread and then pull it shut. And that makes those knots. So we'll do one more knot like that, through the loop of thread, pull it shut like that. And now we can cut off our thread and rethread our needle. Pull it till the ends meet. And now we just do the exact same thing, making knots. Right where we stop sewing, we'll just start sewing. So we'll go down and up through the fabric, through both layers of sweater and sleeve. Pull your thread through, but not all the way, and then go back through those same holes again to create that loop of thread. Needle through the loop, pull it shut. You have your first knot. So we're going to make 3 knots, and then we can just keep doing those back stitches all around the sleeve, all the way up to that shoulder seam. Take a step back, come out further, and keep going. Now we've made it up to the shoulder seam of the arm and the sweater. So just keep doing those back stitches. You can see we have the shoulder seam of the arm, the shoulder seam of the sweater. You can take your pin out. And whenever you get to a seam or a place like that, it's good to do a knot. So we'll just go down, out through the same hole, and then back through that loop of thread, just to really secure it in place. And then just line up your fabric, put another pin in if that will help you to keep it nice and straight, just further along from where you're sewing. And now we'll just keep doing those back stitches until it's time to rethread our needle again. Okay, so we're coming around to the end. I'm going to take that pin out. Now you just want to smooth out both layers of fabric and make sure that they're lining up right, because they might not have been the exact same size. And if one layer of fabric is too big, you just want to take all that extra fabric and we'll put it at the armpit area where we started sewing. So you can just pull it like that, pull it so it's nice and tight, and then fold it over, and that's how we'll sew it in place. So we're almost back at that armpit area. We're going to put our needle through so we can see the fabric on the other side. So you just pull it tight and then fold it over, and we'll sew that all in place again with the back stitches. And you still want to make sure you're sewing on the other side of this seam here. And then back stitch, and then you can come out into this folded fabric, and we'll just keep doing the back stitches right through all those layers of fabric, right through the fold, and then right through the seam till we get back to where our original stitches started over here. So again, another back stitch and come out, and now you can see we've sewed it all completely in place, and there's stitches all along. So we will do a knot going through the loop of thread. We're going to do 3 knots. 3 knots done. Cut off our thread, and you can see you have stitches all along those armholes. And when you turn it right side out, you can see it's nice and sewn in place.
And this is what it looks like when it's all done. Yeah, so easy. Thank you so much for watching Cinderella Sew, and I'll see you soon. Peace.